This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler & Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
Good morning. Okay, so how many of you have ever wished that you could measure the performance or skill of your investment advisor, or figure out how much or how they compare to the rest of the country? Yeah, there's a few hands. Okay, well, so most people are like, well, yeah, but how do you do that? Well, so the 401k and 403b industry has $7.5 trillion of assets in it, and $7 billion annually is going to investment consultants and investment advisors. Nobody is measuring their skill or performance. I'm Al Otto. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Veriphy Analytics, the first firm in the country to bring transparency to consultant skill and to measure the actual value added to 401k and 403b plans. So one of the big issues in this industry is people focus on the input. What are the fees? I'm sure you've read about it. But it was Ben Graham, who was Warren Buffett's mentor, that said, price is what you pay, value is what you receive. At Veriphy, we measure value. And so why is this important? Well, as a plan fiduciary, you have this legal responsibility and personal liability to make sure that fees are reasonable, but there's no viable, objective method to measure it. Consequently, there's a growing significant legal risk associated with these issues, and there's also significant corporate costs to poor performing portfolios. So, Veriphy is the solution. We measure and monitor outcomes on an ongoing basis, and we do that with a technology that is focused on understanding value. So this industry, $7.5 trillion in assets, 98,000 plans that represent about 70 million of you, 70 million 401k participants. There's about 3,000 investment advisory firms focused on this industry and 900 fund managers. So that's the industry. The Veriphy system is focused on bringing value-added measurement to a committee, an investment committee, and we do that with a technology that is patent pending so that they can make good decisions, so they can understand exactly where the value that's being received has come from, and they can start to improve outcomes because they have feedback, reduce their personal financial liability, and reduce corporate cost. So our system is based on common sense. You know, my daughter, who's a fashion merchandiser, she gets it. So very simply, if you have a plan that has 20% more return and 15% less risk than the benchmark, that's good. If you have a plan that is 20%, has 20% lower return and 15% more risk, well, that's bad. And so that's the premise that we're working from. The Veriphy Plan View report is live. We have subscribers, and we have some pretty good feedback. Our first plan advisor said, oh, thank you, finally, somebody can measure my skill. And our first plan sponsor said, you know, we thought that our advisor was good, but now we know that their skills are excellent. And so basically, our business model is a software as a service. We charge annually to the plan and quarterly to the plan advisor. And we're working towards getting that 2,500 subscriber focus. Today, we have 33 plans coming through 3 elite advisory firms. We also have a very experienced team. So my partner, Mark McCoy, and I both have 35 years of experience in this industry as independent, registered investment advisors, and our Chief Growth Officer, Doug Field, has 35 years in the employee benefits world and in building online communities. We also recently added some technology horsepower to our advisory team, and that will help us move forward. So we are first to market with an elegant, simple method to measure the value of the outcome. It's plan specific, it drives great decision making from an investment perspective, and it's designed to measure what's the value instead of what's my price. So what about the industry? Well, the industry is pretty dang crowded. It's a red ocean. But everybody's focused on fund analysis and data aggregation. Not one of these companies, not one, is measuring investment value added or bringing any transparency to consultant skill. So we're operating in a blue ocean. And that's an exciting thing. And we're looking for a strategic partner to bring $1.5 million of capital to help us get to that 2,500 subscriber mark. At that level, we should have 17 million of annual recurring revenue and approximately 10 million of EBIT. And so if you're that person, or you know that person, I would love to talk to you. Thank you. Question?
Al, first of all, nice job, nice presentation. Can you go back to the revenue model? So your last slide, I think you had getting us to $17 million. Just want to understand the detail of the SaaS model. And first of all, who's the buyer?
Thank you. So there are two buyers, two constituents. There's the plan and that investment committee, and we have 3 levels there depending on plan size, but the average annual recurring revenue there is $9,500. And then we have annual unlimited license subscriptions for investment advisors, and that's an average about $20,000 per year. Does that answer your question?
So the firm is paying $9,500 per year? Do I have that right? The plan, okay.
So there's no corporate expense. The corporation could pay it, but the plan, it's a valid plan expense. Mm-hmm. And so typically a plan would pay that, which is why it's annual. They want only, give me one bill, not 12.
Okay. And do you have any plans signed up? You said you had some traction.
We do. We have plans signed up, and through 3 elite advisor firms, we have 33 plans on the system.
Great.
So let me start back at more of the top, and then we'll all drill in on some questions. But you lost your momentum, so I'm going to be super critical about how you deliver the pitch. So you lost your momentum when you had like the solutions value for bubbles slide. It was like very abstracted, and so I was with you, and then you kind of like hit the brakes, and even it seemed like your confidence and actually the material and your enthusiasm also kind of waned. I don't know if anyone else thought so, but I just felt like that was a weird kind of something, a little bit of a slowdown. And so maybe bringing up that concept of risk reward or risk and returns gets me a little more, connected to what you're doing quicker up front. So like my advice would be, you're probably going to only be pitching people who get this space, right? They understand RIA, investment advisory. You can probably cut out a bunch of the higher level kind of ideas that place this thing in the industry, because I think once you get to it, it's very tight. And I would just try to like call out anything that's not super specific that allows me to be like, oh, I see where you're playing. Because I'm actually in this industry, I manage money, and I'm like, oh yeah, so where are these guys? And I think most of the investors you're going to pitch for $1.5 million round are going to already kind of know the big picture.
Thank you.
And then, I think where Rob was is where my head went next, was like, all right, so walk me through how this works. 3 elite advisors have led to 33 plans. My next follow-up question to Rob's, just to get to the tactical, is, so how are you guys selling? Like, how are we actually getting into the market? SaaS model, totally get it. Love how it's set up. Like, how are we going to ramp?
So currently sales are direct, but they, one of the things that will come from the investment is a front end and building the community and people coming in, really inbound sales rather than direct sales.
Yeah, So like it's this high level advice is take 20 or 25% of your content out. I don't know where, but probably some of the bigger abstracted stuff, and get to that. Because that would if we had 10 minutes at a conference, like we're sitting in Atlanta at some RIA conference, and you've got me for 10 minutes. 25% of this stuff I don't need. What I need is to see how you're going to use the $1.5 million to affect the ramp to get to 17 million and 10 million of EBIT. Then it's like, oh, well, let's meet like tomorrow or next week and talk about next level. Because that's also, as the CEO of this thing, you're going to have to accelerate your process and get to the best potential investor meetings. The best way to do that is to basically get to the details quickly and see who bites on that. That's just kind of, I don't know. So anyway, really well done. I mean, I'm super excited at what you guys are doing because it's a huge problem. I totally get it.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Want to open it up to the group?
Audience, any questions? Oh, I know there's a burning question out there. Come on, we got a few minutes.
One more question.
Yeah, back in the back.
How do the underperforming plans and analysts stick with you as a customer?
So how do the underperforming plans stick with you?
Why would they stick with you as a customer?
Why would they stick with us? So they might not hire us, quite frankly, but if you are on an investment committee, there's a corporate cost to a poor performing retirement plan, not just a pension plan, because there are people that are staying on to at your company that could be retiring, but because your plan is poorly performing, they're less likely to retire. So there's a huge corporate cost for that. And measuring that, since this is a private community, it is not a public, this is not going to be open to the general public, it's subscribers only. So if you're performing poorly, this gives you feedback on how to improve.
So Al, as a follow-up to that, I kind of had the same question. Is it a one-time service then? So explain how it's an ongoing...
There's a legal requirement to monitor these things on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
So you really do need to understand on an ongoing basis. And when you drill down into, where is my value coming from, you start to see, okay, well, this particular fund manager is helping me out, this one's not. Let's have a conversation about that. It starts to drive committee conversation.
Could you take it to the next level and take the data across all plans and make recommendations for the advisor that they should use?
Yes, you can.
You smile.
You can. So one of the things that is really on our next piece of development is just to be able to measure against your industry. So I'm in the airline industry. How does my plan stack up to all of the people I compete with for talent?
That's interesting.
Yeah, one more suggestion. I'm just gonna, again, this is very specific and kind of a little bit too much probably, but get use of proceeds laid out a little tighter. This is a great slide. Again, drop 25 to 30%, and then add more specifics around what you're going to do here with $1.5 million. Because again, just accelerate, just show a level of proficiency in that. You guys know how to run this thing, and it becomes less this are these guys just a bunch of ex-RIAs or whatevers that are trying to raise money that think they have a solution, because that's what the VCs are all looking for. They're just who can affect the go-to-market and use these proceeds quickly and effectively.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Question right here.
And Al, one follow-on to that. Do you have any committed capital to your fundraise yet?
No.
Okay. I was going to make the...
one small investor, and everything else has been bootstrapped.
As you get those commitments, that would be another slide. It's a herd mentality out there, so as others see that...
That's a great point.
See other investors jumping in, it's a good one to show.
There's one question right there.
So my company, which is relatively small, hires an outside financial analyst to have a person analyze our funds for the committee. Would you take the place of that guy or supplement that guy?
So I would measure that guy. So we're not providing any investment advice. We're measuring the ability of that guy to give you good advice over time.
Got time for one more quick one. Seeing none, okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.